it just gets easier doing things solo. I used to just stay home because I was too embarrassed to go to events by myself. It was even to the point where I would purposely go on dating sites to try to get a date with a guy so that way I at least had company to go somewhere. You know when you see that friend that didn't go to that certain thing that you know that they are definitely a fan of or they're definitely very fond of, and they didn't go just because they had someone? That was me. Like, even if I really liked something, I would not go unless I had someone. So basically, I would put my whole life on hold because if other people's schedules didn't line up or if I didn't have anyone to go, I would not go. I pretty much went out like this, feeling very unhappy and all that stuff until I went to Mexico. And I got to see a bird's eye view of what life can be like, not feeling lonely. And everything changed because when I came back home, I made a lot of changes. It was only until I recently went to a Bollywood festival did I realize how much I've grown and how far I've come in terms of doing things solo and not caring what other people think. This is a huge breakthrough, and I want to share with you that very moment of me doing something solo and realizing and telling myself, wait, I don't have any bad feelings about it. I'm actually having fun. I was at this festival. I wasn't yearning to have a friend there. I wasn't like, nothing came up in my mind where I was like, oh man, I need to have someone there for me to have fun. I didn't feel awkward. I was in the present moment. I wasn't worried about the past or the future. I was in my happy place. So I focused on the things that I love. So I was happy. I had my corn dogs. I had my slushie. I had all my drinks. I was good. It was like I almost didn't realize I was by myself because I was enjoying my company so much. If you asked the Nakia years ago how she felt when it came to going out alone, she would straight up tell you she would never do that. She would tell you, like I'd rather stay home and not have any fun than go do anything by myself. Because that's not what society does. You just can't wait on people. Because if you wait on people, you are going to miss out. If you don't go anywhere, something is going to suffer. But I'm introverted. I get it. But I found that every time I stayed in my comfort zone and I stayed in the house, usually the friendship will suffer, mental health will suffer, and my overall relationship dynamics would suffer because you're just staying in the house. And you have to get to a point to tell yourself, hey, when I go out somewhere, the home will always be there. Your bed will always be there. Your comfort zone will always be there. I recently went on a water rafting trip, and that was the biggest adventure ever I've done. I had a lot of anxiety going to this weekend away. I didn't really understand why until I spoke to my therapist, and I was telling her I'm having a lot of anxiety around it. And she looked at me and she was like, that makes sense. And I'm looking at her like, what do you mean that makes sense? It makes sense because you're gonna be going to a whole new place and you're gonna have to sleep in a bed that you're not used to. You're gonna have to be around people that you don't know, and you're gonna basically be changing your whole environment. She was like, your home is your comfort place. You're used to your environment. You know where everything is. That's really a good perspective. Our home is our comfort place, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do the things that you enjoy doing. So I ended up going, and I ended up having the most fun, and I was so glad I went. I was able to try something new. It's very hard to try something new when you're just staying in your house and you're choosing to just be home and letting yourself suffer, be lonely, whatever other repercussion happens after that. The thing is, I went to that water rafting trip scared. I went to it feeling uncomfortable. And by the end of that trip, it's like I almost didn't want to leave because everyone ended up being awesome, and all the worries I had didn't even come to pass. It was nothing what I imagined, and I ended up having a blast. And the thing is that if you want to get comfortable doing things solo, you have to push yourself. You have to take the step. Little small steps. I recently went to a networking event in Toronto and I went solo. And you want to know the easiest way to have a conversation? I started speaking to someone right at the registration desk where we were confirming our tickets and getting our free drink tickets. I complimented her, she complimented me, and then we walked to the bar together and got our drinks. We started chatting even more because we were waiting for our drinks. Before you know it, we were sitting down out in the patio having a conversation. Then to the left of us, there was a big table of a group of girls talking, chatting, laughing. And then all of a sudden we were one big table going around having conversations, giving our phones around the table so we can follow each other on Instagram. And then we kind of started to rotate out. I started to just sit down, and then people were starting to naturally want to sit around our tables because eventually we went back to our single table and people would just sit down. We would have conversations. People would sit down, stand up, go in and out. And I'm telling you this because you can be an introvert. You can go out solo and you don't necessarily have to walk out the people and make it all awkward. You can literally just sit there and people will gradually just come up to you. People will start to have conversations with you. I've never went to an event by myself and came out there with no friends. So even though you may be going out solo, you'll usually end up speaking to people. That's just how we are. You'll end up socializing with someone. You'll end up going there, making a friend. You just never know. Or you may end up going there and just enjoying yourself by yourself. And I feel like that took me many years to get to though. That took me many years where now I'm okay with having some weekends where it's just for me, where I just wash my hair, be in my own element. But that took some time to get to. But during those times where I knew I need to put myself out there, I need to just go out there, have fun, do my thing by myself, I would purposely make sure that my weekends were packed. I was always busy going out somewhere, not staying in the house. But now I've gone to a point where I can actually balance it out now, where I'm okay just staying in the house sometimes. And there's times where I'm okay with going out. And then I'm able to understand my feelings. So if I feel like, okay, it's time to go outside, I will usually push myself despite how I feel because I know the outcome. I know that even though how I feel right now is not gonna be how I feel once I push myself. I know that there's gonna be a better outcome once I go out. I'm gonna feel better. I'm gonna feel more energized. I'm gonna feel pumped. Sometimes, instead of having anxiety, and I'm speaking to myself, is sometimes you have to imagine all the fun that you can have. You have to imagine how you're going to feel. You have to imagine what the results is going to be like once you do that very thing. Now, let's actually talk about how to find these places to go to. So if you didn't have a friend to go with, there'd be no excuses. You can do it solo. So first things first is join Facebook groups. You want to type in your cities and find groups where it's specifically to make friends. So I wanted to just show you like what it looks like. And this is what a friendship group would look like, for example. So people will introduce themselves and so forth. And you can see like I commented here and stuff. So it's a really good way. And then, so if you go and you would look, so you'd put in your city. And let's see, like, and then you would do this. Groups. So you see how there's a lot more groups that I'm not even a part of. So they're out there. So you just put like city in front and you'll find groups like this. Like this probably works anywhere. Like let's try New York. And then you click groups and you see they're literally everywhere. And you join these groups and you go in these groups, introduce yourself, make a post, and then you would invite people. And start inviting people that you don't even know. So recently, I saw a tiki boat in Toronto and I saw it and I was like, man, this needs to be a group thing. I could have gone solo. I would have gone solo. I already made up my mind where I was like, listen, if no one wants to go, I will go by myself. But I'm like, you know what? Let's put it out there because usually people are usually down to go on boats. This was a post that I originally made because when I saw the tiki boat And I just wanted to show you guys an example. This is what happened. And then you can see the comments. I then created a personal chat messenger in Messenger, and then I basically shared all the information there and we figured out everything. But that's just how I presented it, and people are interested, they're intrigued. I left it open, and boom, before you know it, we had 12 people, and we went on this boat. It was beautiful. There was beautiful scenery. And this all happened because I decided to put myself out there and invite people. If you don't invite people, you're going to be alone. If you don't put yourself out there and you don't try. So if there's a group outing that you want to do that. Don't be afraid to invite people, especially in these groups. That's what they are for. I also discovered that if you're going to do a group thing, it's actually perfect for friends that you may have met once or friends who you haven't met. But I ended up actually inviting people who I met previously at networking events. And I opened it up to them, and they ended up coming, and that's the start of building relationships. I talked about making new friends in a previous video, but that's the start of making new friends, is you have to see them more than once. So there's a lot of opportunities when it comes to Facebook groups. Eventbrite is your friend. Eventbrite is your best friend. I'm about to show you how to find some events to go to. So you ain't telling me I don't have anything to do and I have no choice but to stay in the house. Nope. So this is the Eventbrite site, and if you are wanting to find places to go, like, I feel like this is the place to go. Usually in my area, if I'm looking for places, I will usually click around. Eventually it will even get better, and it'll start recommending you places like based on where you want to go, but it really depends on the weekend. But this is assuming that this is the first time that most people are going on this. What I would do is I would usually try to use one of these filters, and I would change it. So I am in Mississauga, but Toronto is more bigger, so it's one of the more bigger cities. So I would go in here and be like, okay, like what's popping here? So this one's like, okay, for the Afro culture. So I would look at this, for example. So for me personally, I would want to go to an event like this for my own interest purposes, and you see how they have everything here. And then you see, like, you can easily select tickets. This is actually quite cool. I didn't know this was happening. And you see that there's, like, little tags just here as well. So, like, things to do in Toronto. And you could probably look through this. Like, this is one of the ways. Like, this is what's happening this weekend. Okay? So, like, let me go back here. And so sometimes I'll search. So, like, maybe let's try friends. I would usually use networking because that's what I'm into. But you see, like, how they have, okay, make new friends. Friends trivia. This looks kind of cool. Like, if you're into that, right? So you can go to trivias like this and find events. You could try different keywords. So let me go back. So Bestie Fest. So you see there's a lot of puzzles and connection. This is actually quite cool. Like, I didn't know this was actually going on. This is actually really cool. I would actually go to this. Like, I would legit actually go to that. So I would sometimes just put different keywords. So let's see if there's any other recommendation for tags. And, like, sometimes it'll recommend other events. So, like, you can go down literally a loophole if it's relevant. So you see, like, learn to quilt. Like, you can even do hobby related things. Like, it's not restrictive. It just depends on what your interest is, and you'll find it. It'll start recommending you different types of things. And you see here, like, it keeps on going here. Learn to knit. That's kind of cool. So, like, let me go back to this. So it's like stuff like this. So there's one time where I actually went to an event where it was like a friend speed dating, but not really dating, but like that type of thing. And it was actually very fun. We ended up all going out, and there was 10 of us going to this dinner, and it was quite fun. So you see there's like comedy stuff. There's a lot of things that you can do by yourself that you potentially make friends, or you could just enjoy. So I suggest you choose things that you enjoy. Even this, like, I find in these singles events, you'll tend to meet a lot of other women because we get it. Dinner with strangers. This is actually quite cool. I didn't know this was happening. Well, you see, there's a lot of cool things that you can find just scrolling. Like, I used to literally just do this, where I would just sit down there and say, okay, what's going on today? And then you can click friends. Like, I love the hashtags. Actually, that wasn't the one I was gonna click, but this is kind of cool. Look, board games. Friday. There's a lot of events happening. But let me go back for a sec. See, Friendsgiving. That's really cool. How do you have that? So let me go back. I wanted to actually click dinner. I'm curious to see like if you're a foodie and stuff. See, like, I like going to stuff like this. I'd probably look into this, actually. You see, I'm getting interested because it's stuff that I would be interested in. Like, there's murder dinners, like, depending on the date. I guess you can put hashtags as well, but you can go down this loophole. Find communities, and I'm about to show you how. There on Instagram that's within your city that does all these events. The good thing about doing things solo is it's nothing like years ago, right? Where like you just have to like go outside and hope that you meet someone. I found that the more event pages you follow, Instagram will start to recommend events to you, which is really cool. So it's a little bit different. Like, you could probably still do searches. Like, you could probably still find places. Like, there are a few that I already follow that's in my city. Like, this is one of them, like, for example. And sometimes it will offer suggestions where you can then find other ones. So, like, you see how it will then like offer different things. If you find an event on Eventbrite, most likely they'll have a Instagram page. They all work hand in hand. I would then go here and then start following these groups and then following them, joining their mailing list, and then finding events this way. I will sometimes even get ads to events that I would be interested in because that's my interest. So you see there's a lot more stuff here that you could probably join where they have live events. So you can go down a rabbit hole with this one, which is pretty cool. Let's see if you can just search. Sometimes I have done searches on this, and sometimes you can find local things that are going on. So you can see like the search starts to do it. But I think the easiest way is to start off with one account that's probably represents Toronto. So we have one here called To Do Toronto. And this is where I found some of the events actually. And they'll usually show a lot of social events happening. And then from here, you could probably start off. So just type in New York or any place that, like, you know, they show foodies, like foods, different foods that they could try, events, places they've tried. And then you could go down that rabbit hole. What I like about it is the more you interact with these pages, the more Instagram will start to suggest other posts around your interest. It just knows. The algorithm just knows. So trust me on this. Find one page and start from there. Another idea is you want to go on a site that represents your city. So this would be the ideal site that everyone would be going to when they want to find out the latest things about their specific city. I feel like every city, especially if it's major, has sites like this where it's like all about Toronto or it'd be all about New York or any major city that you have. So sometimes I would even go here. So this is just like as an extra nugget is I would go here. And yes, you could find out like things to do in Toronto for the weekend. But also I would specifically go in the events page. And then like depending on the day that I want to do something, I would like, for example, like click the date. And then I would just scroll and check and see what's going on. And then choose something that I want to go to and see if there's anything of interest. The good thing about doing things solo is it's nothing like years ago where you had to go outside just cold turkey and then hope you meet someone. Nowadays, it's like you can find all these communities available on Instagram, Facebook, and then go to these events and then meet people. So yes, you're going solo, you're starting out solo, but you're not ending out solo. Look for networking events. This is going to be your ticket to everything because it's a great way that if you know that you have to go by yourself, you know that if you go to these events, you're going to end up speaking with people. You're like bound to speak with people, and people are more open because most people usually go to solo to these things. So you guys are all in the same boat. There's no excuse. I went to an event in the financial district. Let's just say I inserted myself. So as soon as I entered that room, guess what I did? I basically walked right into a circle. You know those little circles? And I was like, hey, while they're talking, and then all of a sudden the circle just expands, and then you're included in that circle. So I insert myself when I go to networking events. If you're just standing by yourself, that ain't going to work. You need to insert yourself, put yourself out there. And then by the time I went to go get my drink, I already had found that one person that sticks by you, and throughout the event I kept on going back to the same groups that I originally met in the beginning, and it was so fun because we started taking these group photos, and then before you know it, you're chatting with everyone, and then by the end of the night, we actually ended up going to a different restaurant somewhere else in Toronto, and it was so fun. And we spent the night, and these were with new people that I just met. So I went solo and came out there with a whole new batch of friends. And I want to say this, it's the after events that you want to go to. So when someone's inviting you to go somewhere afterwards, those are the ones you want to go to because you have a chance to be in a more intimate setting and get to know these new people and have more deeper conversations than when you're in a big group. So those are things you want to go to, because to be honest, I didn't feel like going. I knew what it was. I was like, okay, if they're inviting me to go, I might as well just go, especially if I'm looking to interact and socialize. Of course, like if you're done and you're introverted and you're exhausted, go home. But I feel like those are the real opportunities. Those are the true moments that you want to go to. Hope this helps. Leave a comment letting me know what you're going to do next if you're looking to do things solo and make things easier solo.